This week's edition of From the House of the Holy is brought to you by one of Stirling Amateur Football Club's major sponsors, the Eaton Tavern Sports Bar and Bistro, proud winners of the AHA WA Hospitality Awards for Excellence Pub Tab of the Year. Enjoy the show. Hello everyone and welcome to pre-season 2019, and that means that once again I can say hello everyone and welcome to this year's first Stirling Saints football podcast from the House of the Holy. It's your insider look into the players and people who make our humble sporting club. I'm your host Damon Eaton, and returning me once again is my reliable and humble co-host. He recently turned down the offer to headline this year's Super Bowl halftime show as a show of respect and support for Colin Kaepernick for the kneeling during the National Anthem controversy. It's a good evening to Mr. Daniel Tilby for the first time. How you going, mate?
Yeah, good day, mate. How are you, buddy?
Yeah.
Glad you picked up on that. I was very staunch in my protest.
Yeah. Well, there was a hot potato, Tills. Pink turned it down, but there was a scheduling issue. Rihanna turned it down. She didn't like the kneeling situation, and they went with the Maroon 5 guy. So... Yeah, it would have been my second choice after you, Tills. But there you go.
Without a doubt.
Did you catch any of the Super Bowl?
No, it's 3 hours to watch. I don't know. It was just ridiculous. The score 13-3.
Yeah.
What was it? 3 points in the first half, 13 in the third, and nothing in the last. I'm not sure. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Back in the young days, Damo, I would have, but
yeah.
haven't got the time or patience anymore, mate.
Too busy watching cricket, Tills. There's something that you need to invest time into.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Cricket, naked on the couch.
And a bit of Wildcats basketball. We were a little bit on the fringe there of not making the continuing the world record finals appearance stretch to 33 years, Tills, but we've won a few in the past, so...
Yeah, I saw Trev Gleeson at Sandringham for the Jimmy Barnes concert.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he was staunch. I've said staunch twice now.
Oh, yeah, you've only got a quota of 10 per round, Tills, so use them wisely.
He was pretty adamant that no, they didn't need another input, and Bryce would be all right. Terrico would fire up, and with the likes of Nick Kay running around, Mr. Consistent at the moment.
He's very good, Nick Kay, and old Angus Brand, the big man in the middle. He's he's always good. He's always good for a couple of rebounds.
He reminds me of a young Dion Miletus.
Yeah.
Little left-hand little hook.
Yeah, he's really? I don't see it, but anyway.
Nah, he's just tall and got black hair.
That's it. Yeah, that's the only similarities. Anyhow, Tills, enough bull dust already. Let's get to our special guest tonight, Tills. We've gone straight to the very top tonight. Very first podcast here. We're going straight to the top. We've got a stalwart from the Stirling Football Club. He's a long-serving committee member. He's a life member, and he's our club's president, starting the second year of his tenure. Welcome aboard, Dave Downing.
Thanks very much, Damo. How are you, mate?
Doing really, really well, mate. Bit of a unique situation with the podcast, Dave. We've got you side by side with Tills rather than the three-way conference call tonight.
That's correct.
You're coming from live from the post-training Tuesday over at the Jack Freind Bar, correct?
We are indeed.
Beautiful, beautiful. How you doing, Dave? How are things?
Very good, mate. Yeah, not too bad. It's been quietly optimistic. There's been some half decent numbers at training, not actually outstanding numbers, but a little comparison from this time last year. There's a little bit of quiet optimism in the camp, and we've got several new guys who have come down to training over the last 2 weeks. So it'd be nice if we can get everyone together on the track at one time. We can probably certainly then make a better judgment of where we think we're going to be at for the year. So hopefully hopefully within the next couple of weeks that may happen. I said so.
That's tonight was was at our start of our third week of pre-season. It's only our fifth pre-season training, I believe. Is that right? We've just got under 9 weeks to go before our first round, and about just under 7 for our first scratchy, possibly even earlier than that. Isn't that right? I think.
So the first scratch match will be on the 23rd of March, and then we also have one on the 30th of March. Okay,
so we've got back-to-back. So 2 weeks before the first round, the last week before the first round. Okay, cool. Very good. Well, we might as well talk about the new recruits, Dave. I know we'll shuffle the order a little bit. We were going to talk about your involvement in the club, but let's go through the new recruits and talk a little bit about that. Kingers has done well. He's brought down 2 former A-grade players, swung over from Kingsway through Mitch Hunter and Dean Page. Have you had much of a look at them?
Well, Mitch actually started his, I could say senior career, but Mitch actually started here as a Colt back in several years ago now. He was come from Warwick High School when John Batten was involved as the Colts coach. So I sort of have known Mitch reasonably well and have seen him as a footballer over the last couple of years. He's obviously played A grade last year for Kingsway, and obviously was in their B grade premierships, old B grade side the year before when they played off in the grand final. So I do know Mitch reasonably well, and I'm sure he's a very, very good acquisition for us, coming obviously from A grade to C2 level. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, he's only been on the track once because he's on holidays in Japan at the moment. So, and the other guy, Dean Page, I must admit I really can't say I've seen a lot of him as a player either, but from what I've seen on the track, he seems like he seems a very, very cool, calm, collected customer, and I think he should be a welcome acquisition and probably with some leadership in the club as well. So I'm sure those two will be very, very handy players for us.
Yeah, I think one of them slots, from what Kinga tells me, one of them's going to be a target up forward for us, a potential replacement for Damon Lloyd, who seems to have stepped back from the game this year. And the other one is a midfielder, which is very, very good. Always giving support, some fresh blood in there. And King has even mentioned, I think it was last Thursday, there's even a possibility of possibly even getting another half-back flanker from somewhere. So a bit of a mystery get there.
Well, there's actually a couple of the boys, Tim Pendle and Young Hammer, have actually produced a couple of new blokes over the last 3 or 4 weeks. So whether they continue to stay, but there was at least 2 or 3 of them who looked like they had some decent potential. So hopefully they stick around and they will be. I'm sure they'll be handy acquisitions as well. As I said, we've stepped back to grade and gone back to C2, so we're not looking for superstars, but obviously with having 2 A grade footballers come and play for us, that's they're going to be the benchmark for the rest of the boys, and hopefully they can drag the rest of the young blokes up with them. But as I said, optimism of having basically 20 to 25 and even 30 blokes at training last Thursday. From the comparison from where we were this time last year, as I said, I'm certainly not getting carried away, but as I said, there's a little bit of quiet optimism at this stage. It'd be nice to over the next 3 or 4 weeks to get those numbers up to around 40. So he's hoping.
Yeah, was it Kizza and Lingy have also brought down one of their mates down as well? I think from when I think it was on Thursday again when I was there. So he's come down, and I've got a return. One of the guy who played for us 2 years ago took a year off and thought we won't see him again. Miles has returned as well, apparently.
Well, he's been training once, so so we'll be lovely to have Miles back in. He's certainly got some talent. There's also another guy who hasn't played for a few years now, but did play several years ago. A young guy named Kyle Gigliotti, who actually would have played in our last grand final against Kingsway a few years before. Yeah, not our last grand final, the Kingsway grand final. So he's come back to been training as well. So hopefully he's going to stick around, and he'll be a handy midfielder as well for the side. So
yep. We had a couple of prospective near misses as well. I mean, Kemi Grover's from last year's moved on, hasn't he? He's gone over to, is it Kalgoorlie?
Well, he wasn't here with us last year anyway.
Sorry, 2 years ago, yeah, sorry.
So him, Aaron Sweet and Brett Dobson have all gone to Kalgoorlie, and I'm led to believe that even Rory Muller is on his way up there as well. So
yeah.
So Boulder City's gain is yes, our loss.
And you've got Jake.
I have to apologise for not having the correct figures of attendees last Thursday. I actually took guys manila folder and on Tuesday, and I got stuck at work on Thursday. So I'm just ticking off names and adding names to that list just to make it up to the 32 that King said were on deck. So we'll have to confer during the week, and I can tick them off officially, mate.
Beautiful, working well. Will we see Paulie O'Neill return for his 200 games? He's on 199. I know work and fatherhood occupies his mind these days, but within the realm of possibility, perhaps, or Mark Kelly after getting his life membership at the end of last year?
I'm led to believe the King has contacted both of them, but he hasn't had any replies back at this stage. So
yeah.
That is not a question I can answer.
Yeah.
I would like to think so, but yeah, there's no guarantees.
You never know. And you got JJ as well. JJ looks at this stage. I mean, he talked about it last year as well, continuing on with his MMA training rather than footy this year, and it seems to be something he's looked at this year so far. But JJ was never big on pre-season, was he?
No, I think what we would like to get is that I think we're going to have from what I can see, our best 22 is going to be reasonable.
Yep.
I think where we need to do is make sure that we're going to produce at least 20 odd, 21, 22, hopefully every week to play resis. So the guys aren't having to double up, and that's going to be the biggest thing. If we don't have to do that, so I said, as long as in the next couple of weeks, I know there's guys like Sam Days and Joe Wares and those type of guys who don't train because of various circumstances. But if we get guarantees from those guys that they're going to play each week, well, so be it. If we can get by that way, all goes well. But as I said, I hope, and I know, at least having Packy down here now, and we haven't seen Molly at training yet either, and I'm sure Molly's definitely going to play. So that adds another, so. Hopefully, like I said, quite optimism without getting, carried away. But as I said, it's a long time since I've seen 30 guys at training on a Thursday night in January. So, that's something, I suppose, of... and as I said, the guys seem to have been very keen to try and get a few mates and that down to come and play. So, obviously, as we get close to the season, I'll let the guys know that if you bring a guy down who pays his membership and you pay a membership, there's a $50 bar card that will be produced to the bloke who's brought the player down. So if someone brings down 3 or 4 players and then get themselves a $200 bar card, we're quite willing to cover that.
We've actually got a contender at the moment. young Hamish he's produced about 3 blokes. Timmy's up to about 3, I think, 2. Yep, 3. So there's a bit of competition in this arcade caper.
Well, even Champs. I think Champs has got a bloke down who looks like he goes okay. So as I said, with another couple of weeks, and then we sort of really know where we should be at. So.
All very good. All positive signs, all steering in the right direction. In other words.
Yeah, hopefully.
Let's hope so.
Yeah. Oh, Dave, well, let's just move on. We'll get on to... Let's talk about you for a bit, mate. Look, I've been doing a bit of research about your history with the club, but I think it'd be better to hear it from you about how you came to be at Stirling Football Club. I know, obviously, your ties to Kalgoorlie and so forth from there, but give us a run-through about your history with this club, how you've came to be part of this esteemed football club that we're at.
Well, I was lucky enough when I think I would have been about 10 or 11, Damo, and my stepfather, who happened to be, as you would know, in the corner, there's a corner at the bar of the Jack Freind Bar called Nod's Corner.
Yep.
But he happened to be my stepfather. Alan Noddy Thomas.
Right.
Yes. So he, when my mother and him got together, we actually moved from Kubel up to Balga, and he'd always said, he used to go and watch Aussie Park play back in them days because there was a lot of blokes from market guards and all that, and he was involved in the Metro markets back in his days. And being a West Perth supporter as well, there was a lot of ex-West Perth players and all that who were playing for Aussie Park back in the days of when it was at Robinson Reserve. And I actually was lucky enough to, my first game of the Aussie Park Football Club was the 1977 Grand Final.
Wow.
Which was, Aussie Park actually went back-to-back after winning 76-77. So from that time, as I said, Noddy became the team manager for the whole club, a bit like the guy of his day, whereas back in those days, used to go to training Tuesdays and Thursdays and mix boys cordials up, and they used to have long sleeve jumpers and short sleeve jumpers, and so basically, my mum washed all the jumpers and
played in mud then as well.
And so it was certainly a lot different. It was originally started in the Waffa, and then obviously we moved to what became the Sunday League. And apart from a brief period when I went to Kalgoorlie for a couple of years, I come back as a 17 or 18-year-old. Played a couple of years, but I was never much good. So, so basically, always been, I said, I fell in love with the club basically probably from day one, and I've just always wanted to be involved. I can't imagine to be honest, it sounds corny, but I can't imagine my life not having an involvement in the footy club. As I said, a couple of years I was away, and for various reasons, it just missed it, and I found, myself way back when we were struggling again once before, and between John Batten, Max DeCerny, Peter Marr and myself, we actually got Poldside back up and running, and then joined the committee, and now here I am as the president. And,
you just sort of fell into it, really, didn't you?
I did.
Well, Damo, I've got to say, I don't think you could find a more credentialed, more passionate bloke for the club to fill that role.
True.
That was after Rue's, long committed tenureship, and it's really been. I think last year, even though the results weren't really good, but Dave brought a new energy. The passion's undoubted, so he's been a really good leader for us on the committee.
Yes, agreed.
And enjoying serving under him, shall we say?
That's right. I mean, geez, Dave, if you could last as long as Rue in his tenure as president, I think it was 10.
I don't think that's going to happen, mate.
See the look on his head.
You got about another 8 years to go, I think.
That was all right, mate. But I've sort of worked out it's been nearly 40 years of my life here.
Wow.
I'd like to be, ideally, I'd like to be someone who could come down here on a Saturday afternoon and have a few beers and not just be a supporter for a little bit. It's sort of, as I said, it's a labour of love. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And if no one forces you to do something that you don't want to do, and all I can hope for is over the next couple of years we can build the place back up to what it once was, and that's my goal. And just pull Tills up on something to say that you're working under me. There's no hierarchy with us boys. We're all in together. We're on the same level. I said, these guys do as much work as I do, in different forms, but we're all pulling. I know we're all pulling for the same team, and we all just want to see this club back to where we think it belongs. I know going back to the days of the 80s and the early 90s, those days are long gone. But if we can get it back to even what it was 5, maybe 10 years ago, where it was a thriving, pumping place. The couple of times last year when we did have decent functions here, it warms the heart to think that. But it's an easy place to come down to and go, oh yeah, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? But blokes come here once a year and put their hand up and go, oh, I'd like to do that. And then when you force the issue and they say, oh, I haven't got the time. Well, fair enough, that's fine. But the small group of blokes that like us on the committee who work their backsides off, it gets tiring, and we're not going to be able to do it forever. And I think this year is a year where the players especially need to step up and take control of the footy club. And really, you need to buy in. It can't be just a place where you walk in Tuesdays and Thursdays and walk in Saturdays and then walk out and think that's what you've done because you're playing for the club. It's not good enough. You need to be here supporting functions, as you know, Damon. You need to be here working on a Thursday night or a Saturday if someone needs a hand in the shop or someone needs a hand in the bar or someone needs a hand going getting goalposts down or cleaning up out the front or, it just can't be left to someone else to do. And, without that support, we're not going to go anywhere in a very, very quickly.
True, so very, very true. Very well said, Dave. Absolutely, and I think Tills would be in total agreement with you as well. As I certainly am, as far as sharing the load beyond just the people that do the work week in, week out, such as yourself and Tills. And I know for myself, I was thinking when I first thought about joining the committee, I thought, geez, these guys do it so well. What could I possibly offer that would actually be on par with what those guys do? And I think,
but it's been realised, Damo, that I don't do much well. I just Band-Aid fix everything, mate. But
well, Tills, it's something that's done. It's usually when something pops up about we've got an issue with the bar or something like that. Who's the man to ask or who can I ask? The first person that comes to mind. So, I mean, for me, I was thinking, well, what skills do I have to offer? And it's pretty simple. I think you listed a whole heap there, Dave. That they're the small things that can be done. And if you're looking for a starting point to make a contribution, then you'd look no further than getting a little bit earlier to the ground before games start, and like I said, helping out with the setting up and cleaning up. And someone can always take over the timekeeping duties, Dave, from yourself. There's always that,
Well, exactly right.
Yeah,
it's only little bits and pieces. Like everyone wants to sit back and have a drink and carry on and have a great time, but a club doesn't run itself. Yeah. And, I observe when I go to other clubs and watch what other people do and how other people operate, and it sometimes gets very difficult when you do ask people to do stuff, and it's no, and sometimes they end up going the same time, and you ask the bloke you'll know who'll give you a hand, and he gets jacked off because he's the only one that seems to get asked all the time, and so I understand that, and then that's when you get to the stage you go, oh, well, I might as well go and do it myself. But it's got to change. The club's got to change, or else we're it's not put a too fine a point on it. I don't want to be a doomsdayer, a doomslayer. But if we all decided to go tomorrow and go, that's it, I've had enough. Where is someone to take over? And it needs some fresh faces. It needs some fresh people. We need, obviously, be nice to get some more women involved on the committee. Yep. I think the fact that we're having the Ladies' Day early on is a really good idea.
Correct.
But I think we need to change that. I think we need to become more family orientated rather than a boys' club, and that's what I would hope that the future brings.
Yeah, well, you did right there, Dave. I mean, we know we've actually tentatively started booking in our social events this year already, as you know. At this stage, looks like we still are waiting for the fixtures of the home game, away games we're going to have, but pretty much the weekends of the 11th, the 18th, and the 25th of May, one of those three, the earlier the better, rounds 5, 6, and 7, are going to be the weekends we're looking at for the Ladies' Day. The following week, we're going to have potential bingo evening combined with the juniors. Things like that are happening, and it all just starts with someone just saying, oh, look, I could probably add a little something to one of these events if you don't mind. It's always going to be welcome. So Dead right. And then you have, like yourself, you have when you're working hard as well, and you're there still doing the stuff that you've always done, as well as being now taking on the president role, which is now your second year, of course. And of course, you brought in your fantastic other half. I mean, Deb's come in and. Last time I was at the club, she was there doing the sausage sizzle. That's things like that, and she got the club service award last year, so it was well deserved. It's just things like that make a big difference.
I got through the year without her, mate.
Yeah.
Last year, certainly the amount of stuff she did for us. I don't say for me, but for the club. Then she took it on lock, stock, and barrel. She's like even this year, she's already working on menus. For Thursday nights, so and then she was a bit disappointed when I told her she might have to share it with the Mafia boys, because she said, but I don't. I said, well, it gives you a break. I said, you don't have to do it all the time then. So, but anyway, she's embraced it as well. So
that's wonderful. I mean, it's it's a long season, Dave, as you know, and we've barely even started. So let's not burn her out too much.
No, that's why I'm certainly not. Well. At the moment, she's on a lot of night shifts at the moment as well, which is burning her out anyway. So anyway, but that's all I can hope for is that we can move onwards and upwards this year and turn the club's fortunes around. Mm-hmm. And I can't do it, you can't do it, Tills can't do it. Everyone needs to do it.
Yeah. Well spoken. Let's move a little bit further, Dave. Let's go to some recent news that perhaps not everyone is privy to, and if it's not suitable for talking, then we can always edit it out. But our beloved Audrey, she was in hospital fairly recently. Dave, how's she going? Give us a detail about how things are going there.
To the best of my knowledge, she's still in hospital at the moment. She's not travelling too well. She's got a bad infection, I'm led to believe.
This was her knee. Was this her knee? I understand it was her knee. She knocked it.
So I don't. It's very hard to contact her as well, because there's been a bit of problem with the phone issues at the hospital or something. There was complaints made that there's too many calls going through and all this sort of stuff. So anyway, that's the last I've heard. Obviously, I haven't had an update this week, so I can't add any more to it than that at the moment.
Whereabouts is she?
She's in St John's in Subiaco.
Okay.
So Deb and my mum did go and visit her 2 weeks ago, and she was hoping to get out, but at this stage, she's as best that we can gather, she's still not out of hospital. So
right, okay. Well, let's hope that it turns around quicker for her and she gets out and about. I mean, the last time I spoke to her, you said that she was not enjoying the stay there, nor would anyone enjoy the stay there. She wanted to get out.
Can you imagine Auntie Ord sitting in hospital, Dave?
She would have been absolutely distraught that she missed Brad Smith's 60th birthday, because it was, that obviously was an old school Osmond Park reunion. So she'd have been absolutely devastating at missing that. So unfortunately, it's a bit hard to garner some information at the moment. So we will try and chase them up in the next couple of days and see. But apart from that, no, I can't add anything to what I know of 2 weeks ago. So
sure, and all thoughts and prayers are with from us to Ord as well, of course. So if anyone else is listening to this, I'm hoping that this is news to you. That by the time you listen to it, she's pretty much out and in the clear. So,
Nice.
It's that time once again where we take a break from this week's podcast so I can yabber on about this week's major sponsor. And we're kicking off the season with one of our longest serving sponsors. It is, of course, the Odin Tavern. It's at the corner of Delaunay and Erindale Road. We all know as players where it is. For listeners, all three of you, it's there. That's where it is. Now, you should go down and check it out. Not only have they got one of the most celebrated beer gardens out there, it's absolutely fantastic in this sort of weather, particularly with today's like today, where it's about a sweltering 37 degrees. Nothing goes down better after a day's work than a nice quiet beer at the beer garden to take it all in. It is also a case where some of the fantastic food you've got on offer there, and they got some great variety every night. It's different specials. They got the Tradies Ladies special available Monday to Friday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Steak with chips or salad or fish with chips, $16. Can you believe it? $16. And it's backed by popular demand. Every Wednesday night, it's a $16 porterhouse steak evening when purchased with a beverage. Can't do much better than that. One of the best Wednesday night steaks you'll ever have. Of course, they've got a great selection of beers, wines, and premixes. Their bottle shop's open pretty much from about 10 till later, till it closes, which is about 9:30 for most nights, or 8:30. Kids eat for free Mondays and Tuesday nights from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Look, it's all there. They're also proud winners of the AHA WA Hospitality Awards for Excellence at Pub Tab of the Year. So it's all there. Thursday night is always a palmy night, $18. You go and wrap your laughing gear around that. Very, very well worth going and visiting. So absolutely, there's no excuse why you can't go down and enjoy yourself there. So if you're a seniors card, seniors members, go down with your seniors card and ask what the specials are. They've got plenty going on there. So look, the Eaton Tavern, it's there. Sunday roasts on $18. 2 courses, soup and roast or roast and dessert, $18 for your Sunday roast. If you're bored and you don't want to cook at home, it's the place to be. So, yes, the Eaton Tavern. Bottle shop open every night from 10 a.m. till early evening, and the tavern itself is open Monday to Sunday, 10 a.m. till 8. The corner of Erindale Road and Delaunay Street. We now return you back to our regular podcast. Let's move on. We're going to rifle through some of these things. Dave, we had the wind up at the end of last season. We're going to talk about a few of the award winners, and I want to start off with a few discussion topics. One person in particular, and I just thought about it a little while ago. The league fairest and best recipient from last season, Adam Edwards. That makes him a 4-time league fairest and best winner for our club.
Yes.
Now, here's a question for you, and I want to pose it to you and to Tills. Does this put him in the league of a strong contender of perhaps being the greatest that we've ever seen at our club? If 4 fairest and bests for our league. I know Charlie Bertolioni has equalled 4 as well. Would that put Adam Edwards in that sort of upper echelon of being possibly the greatest player we've ever seen?
It's very hard to compare players with players to eras with eras as well, Damon, because I suppose with the way the amateurs are structured, as in you're going from, you can be A grade one year and for example, C2 the next, or companies that, and I probably can go back a lot further than Tills, obviously, with some of the great players who I've seen play Sunday League here.
Yeah.
But probably, if we're going to compare guys that have played amateur footy, say, since 98 when they merged and we joined the amateurs, I'm sure Adam is highly, highly regarded. Just have a look around have a look around the room here now. His brother Joel would be someone who would be highly regarded as well. And I know the fact that Adam's won 4 makes it a big thing, but like Wade Tassif won back to back. We've had Shane Cocker won back to back here, I think, as well. So it's you're comparing eras. Adam's been a great footballer.
I dare say Adam would stack up in any era.
So
a great player.
He is a great player,
and a servant to the club that he's been.
Yeah,
he's phenomenal.
Well, how many seasons has he been with the club, do you think? It's when did he start? Was it about 2000, just after 2000?
That means he would have been playing with the club for 18 years, Damo, so probably not.
Well, could always happen, I don't know. But it's been a while. It's been a long time. I mean, geez, when
Joel was down here,
they did go away for a little bit, didn't they?
A bit.
So, but he's played. I don't know how many games has he played.
That's a good question. I could bring it up the statistics right now. I've actually got the laptop here. Just give me a second. But I mean, how do you measure these fairest and best? Adam Edwards, 177 games with the asterisk next to him. So, you know...
So that's 12 years, I'd say.
Yeah, so 170...
11 years, yeah.
He played some for Corbinian as well, didn't they, when they went for a couple of years? Him and Joel and all those boys left for those couple of years and then come back. That was sort of a couple of years when I wasn't really involved as well. So,
I mean, how do you measure it? I mean, how do you measure the best of all time for a club? Do you measure by fairest and best? Do you measure them by total amount of fairest and best? I mean, Frank Figlamini, 8 fairest and bests, you know, but spread over Colts reserves, thirds and fourths. I mean, amount of games played. How many premierships? I mean, Ruse won. Geez, how many premierships? He's probably won the most out of anyone for us.
Well, that's not true.
Is that true? No?
No, it's not.
Well, if Paul Giamoff's listening, I'm sure he'll give us the text and let us know.
Justin Kickett, mate.
Yeah, JK, most premierships. That's right, yes.
Oh, he would have too, yeah.
Yes.
And including 2 Sunday League A-grade premierships.
Ah, right, there you go. I mean, so, and there's the other thing too, more than just league. You know, when they play for reserves and other grades sort of thing, and like you said before, do we measure that as well? They're a rep for WA rep, you know, first and best for the WAFL League. I mean, things we consider there.
Oh, there's lots of things to consider. You know, we had Brian Duke play footy here.
Yeah. So would you call him a product of Stirling or Osborne Park though?
No, you don't. But then, you know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. You know, back in those days, it was.
You know, we've had Clint Roberts, Brett Fullerton's.
Yes.
Going back, I don't know whether I should mention the name, but he was a gun footballer and he won dual fairest and best here in the 70s. Angie Papadopoulos was a wonderful footballer. So,
so it's Committee coaching. Yeah, with Jerry McNeil coaching. So, it's
very subjective.
But I think you might even...
All and each one of them have been fantastic players, you know.
Well, when this conversation does arise, I'm sure Adam is, you know, will certainly be a name that'll have to be bandied around when you consider these sorts of conversations. I mean, it's a remarkable achievement, 4 times, you know, league first and best. So good for him, and going around again this year. And he looks fit. He looks good, doesn't he?
Yes,
he always looks good.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I've no doubt he would be banned, especially over the last 20 years. His achievements here is equal to anyone. So
consistently. Yeah. What about our reserves, fairest and best? Here's a good one. This is one of personal favourites of mine. Sammy Day won our fairest and best 2018. Now I think he's been at our club for nearly 10 years now. And he's been one of those guys who've played a lot of reserves. He's played thirds, and he's always been that reputation of a guy who could have played firsts, you know, if he played and trained a bit more. But what I find is really interesting, and I don't know what the answer to this question is, but it was 10 years sort of thing, I guess, in the making. He's always been in naming bandied around a possible fairest and best. He's won one now. But when was the last time a forward won a club fairest and best for any of the grades, let alone the reserves? And do you think that in a season when reserves didn't win a single game, does this make his achievement all that much more remarkable?
Oh, too right it does. It was, you know, and to add to that, you know, with the troubles that we were having, he actually saddled up and played league a few times as well after backing up.
Yeah.
So, but Sam is a very, the truth is Sam's a very talented footballer and probably should, if possible, had played a lot higher level, you know, but in circumstances and family commitments and stuff like that make a difference. But absolutely a remarkable achievement.
Yeah.
And he's
a good egg as well, Damo.
Yeah, fantastic bloke. I mean, when I was coaching thirds, Tills, I mean, he was one. When you talk about Dave, guys willing to help you out on the day and so forth, he was one of those guys who's willing to help out and so forth. I remember one time we drove to Safety Bay. We hired a bus to go down and play down near there, and he also had his B class license as well. He said, "Look, Damon, I'll do the drive back if you want, and I'll have a few drinks, and you can have a few drinks. We're going to be stopping off at a couple of bars." So he was willing to do that. I reneged. I said, "No, I'll do it, mate." But yeah, he was always at the front and chatting to me, so I really get along well and rank him pretty highly. Old Sammy.
Yeah, he's a very good fella, mate. He's a very good.
Yeah.
And I know he doesn't train much, but you ring him up and he's puts his hand up just about every week to come and play anyway. So
yeah,
guys like him are worth their weight in gold, mate.
New father, or I guess reasonably new father. I think he's got twin kids, so I think they'll be coming up to 18 months now. So he played last season when he's got newborn twins. So
yeah,
that's lesser people have said, "Look, that's me, retired." Yeah.
He's held in good stead around this club, believe me, and he's a cracking bloke, and he's actually really funny as well.
Yeah, he has got a good sense of humour, great sense of humour. And you think
one of the blokes who turn up week in, week out, and then we struggled for guys to pay memberships last year, and he was one that paid every week he played, and then said to Paul Gemov, then last year, just send me a bill for what I owe, and so
I'll square it up. Yeah.
So, unfortunately, he wasn't at the wind-up, so I don't think he's still got his first and best award, which is a little bit disappointing. But
I've taken it home, Dave, and I've scrubbed out his name and put my name on there.
I actually gave him a call. I actually gave him a text the next day, and I said, "Congratulations, mate." I said it that night, but I actually spoke to him the next morning very briefly and had a quick chat to him and let him know. And he was humble. He said, "I'm sort of embarrassed that I won it." He said, "Because I don't train, I don't feel as if I could have. I'm not performing as best as I could, even if I know that I just can't do it. Go do the trainings, and I won a fairest and best in a season where I feel I was the most ill prepared." So,
yeah. Well, he's probably one of the Resi's leading goal kickers for the last 10 years as well, Dave.
Yeah, well, with a score, maybe a tally of 9 goals per season, Tills. That's
probably pretty clear of what's required, I reckon.
Yeah. Well, his nearest rival might have been like 4 goals, but yeah, you're right. The reason for reserves, he's done it hard. That's what I was saying. He was always been the target.
Did he kick that winner after the siren at Carlisle that day when we won?
Yes, there's one. Yeah, it's the quality of goals, Dave. Maybe not the number.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, he's always been the target up forward, and like I said, I don't know if Paul Gemoff's listening in and come this far. Do some groundwork, Paulie. Let us know when's the last time a forward at our club has won a fairest and best in any grade, maybe even just in reserve. So it'd be, might have broken something for a while for the iron grip that midfielders have on the award. Corfs came runner-up, and here's an interesting one. Who came third in the reserves fairest and best?
I reckon G.
No. I sort of cocked my eyebrows when I saw it. None other than Dean Turner.
Yep, that's right.
Dean Turner. So he left partway through the season as well. So he must have done enough earlier on to play consistent games to get some votes there.
I think you'll find he played a fair bit towards the end of the season too, because he was one of the ones who actually a couple of times doubled up for us as well. So he's another one who, when he's available, he puts his hand up and turns up and plays and gives his best and supports the club as much as he can. So these blokes, as I said, are, we'd be in bigger trouble without them.
Yeah.
So,
and then you look at the runner-up for the league fairest and best, and some great names. You've got Malcolm Hipwell. Yeah, you got Milky. He's got the runner-up for the league last year with Fraggers, Michael Franceschini getting the third runner-up. So it's not bad. Milky was only just the season or two before that one, when he was just rucking for reserves. He more than would have been more than welcome to play in league, but again, it was sort of commitments. I think last season he sort of not committed a bit more to it and got a runner-up fairest and best out of it. So,
yep.
And he's another guy who's been a pre-season this year. He's been really doing really well. So Fraggers has always been there.
Milky, the kid's a trooper. He really, he was hurting last year, but he'd keep fronting up, and then he'd go out Saturday night and most of Sundays, and
great recovery sessions.
He's just a legend, He's, yeah. So we'll be welcoming him back with open arms, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And Junior, like you said, I mean, he just
keeps on keeping on.
Yeah, he's an energiser. He's going to get to 300, I have no doubt, and be well deserved. That's for sure.
Well, that's it. What else can he accomplish at this club? Fraggers. I mean,
wants a premiership, mate.
That's exactly. He is absolutely starving for one. So that's one more thing for him to tick off. 300 games would be a good one too, mind you.
Would be.
Coaches Awards. I mean, the Coaches Awards for league and for reserves. I mean, you would have to tip your hat to these guys. You can't deny them that they were very, very, very deserving on it. Probably the last of our Colts to ever come through our club at this stage. Through Kieran Guy and Chris Leopardi, Kizza and Lingy winning the Coaches Awards.
Two quality young kids, mate, who could have taken the path last year and gone and played Colts.
Yeah.
And didn't. Along with young I forgot his name for the moment. Anyway, it's Marty.
Yes, Marty, of course. Yes, that's right. Yes, Marty.
So they hang tough with the club, and good kids, and they've all haven't missed a beat so far at pre-season this year. And I think Kizza could be in for a really, really good season. And young Lingy showed some stuff last year when he played league that I didn't think he had in him, and he impressed me late in the last half of the season. So I think through adversity sometimes maketh the man sometimes, and he showed something as a league player last year that he could potentially be a wingman, running up and down that wing this year in D2. So hopefully he comes along a bit forward. And I said neither one of them missed a training thus far. So hopefully they are still in the future of the club.
Yeah, they understand that's the way to grow, to develop as a footballer, to become better, is actually get your hands on the ball as much as you can. That's at training, and be part of the game, get in the game, which is what these guys are taking with aplomb. They're, got the right attitude, both those guys, I reckon. So
absolutely, they have.
Yeah. All right, Dave. Well, that's a good little wrap up there for the whole year. Of course, Mark Kelly. We're going to talk about Kels a bit, about his life membership, but we'll wrap up with discussing how he's done now. We know he's been contacted about coming down, maybe keeping on playing this year, but let's just talk about what he has done this season. I know you know his achievements and his history of the club quite well. Give us a few words about Kels.
Well, just been a clubman through and through for all his life. He come down here. He was the first Colts captain when we got back on board with JB and that, and I think he won a fairest and best in either the first or second year. And at the time, JB was also involved in state programs and used to have to go away a bit. And Kels would take on a coaching role and take on, the match day coaching and take on, training on a Monday and a Thursday night is what we used to train back then. And he's always showed for a passion for the club. He's wore his heart on his sleeve whenever he plays. He gives him 100%, and he basically, you ever ask him to do anything and he does it. I said, 10, 11, 12 years down the track, he's 200 games, and most of them have been at the highest level. Well, there's not too many. He's not played too many reserves games.
No.
And to chalk that up, so hopefully he does come back. But you never know. I know with his work now that he's pretty high up, and he's sort of like a supervisor. So it's a lot of time for him, a lot hard for him to get to training at times. But you never know. He might get the bug and feel he might owe the club one more year. But he's given his all for the 12, 13 years that he's been here. So you can't be great if he decides he's had enough. So
yeah. Oh, well, Kels, congratulations, mate, on your Lifetime Achievement Award. His club service. Feels like it, doesn't it? It is a Lifetime Achievement Award, I guess, if you get the club, if you're getting the
We'll change it to that this year, don't we?
Yeah. Okay, boys, are you ready for a bit of a? Were you ready for a bit of a quiz right now? Yeah. Dave, you on board for this?
Dave's going to kill me, but yeah, okay, fire up.
Well, I've put this together. I've tried to make it as fairly balanced as possible, so both of you would potentially know the answers to these. It's where we had Sale of the Century, Tony Barber, Who Am I, and they go through some of the details of who they are, and you've got to sort of try to buzz in and guess who they're talking about. Well, that's similar to what we've got there. We've got current and past players here, some of the legends, some current legends in the making that are some of these questions. So just call your name before you buzz in, or I should probably be able to tell you by your voice anyway. So, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Let's see. Let's start off with this. Number one. I have played 128 games combined for Balcatta and Stirling Football Club, including 114 league games, 10 reserves and 4 thirds games. I was recruited from Osborne Park Districts Amateur Football Club, where I played 60 games between 1990 and 1992. Okay, this might even things up a bit. I have won the WAAFL Fairest and Best twice. Sorry, who was that?
Dave, Troy Miletus?
No, Dave. No, Dave. So I'm going to give Tills. You're going to get the rest of this clue in the next one. Then, Dave, you can come back in. Ready? I've won the WAAFL Fairest and Best twice in 1990 for E grade at Osborne Districts and 1995 C grade for Balcatta. I'm a 2-time premiership player for Balcatta, 96 in C grade, and in Stirling in 1998 B grade. All right, Dave, you're back in.
Roo.
Yes. Well done. I was going to start with an easy one. I thought, Roo. I'll do Roo one. Yeah,
I didn't realise he played at Aussie Districts, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He won the club Fairest and Best for Osborne Districts in 1990 and 92, and in Balcatta in 94, 95 and 96.
Yep.
Coached Balcatta League side 94, 95 and Stirling in 2004. Served on the club committee for 14 years, including club president from 2008 to 2017 and treasurer over 05 to 09 and from 2014 to now. And he is the only person in club history to have been president, league coach and won a league Fairest and Best.
Well, that's not going to happen with this president, is it?
All right, so I don't know. Who won that one? Who got in there early?
Give it to Davo.
Give it to Dave. Yeah, you probably should steal it, Tills, because he's probably going to do really well some other ones.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's see. Let's try this one. Okay, you ready?
Yep.
Here we go. This guy has played 116 games for Stirling between the years 2008 to 2013 and from 2016 to today. He made his league debut in 2016, round 1 versus Ocean Ridge. His current tally includes 26 league games, 54 reserves games, 5 thirds, and 31 reserves games. Oh, sorry, that doesn't make sense. Anyway, he had the unique absence from the game for a number of rounds during the 2013 season due to an infection from a whitetail spider bite.
Jared Proctor.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he reached his 100-game milestone early last season. He has captained the reserve side throughout the 2017 season. He won the reserves Fairest and Best in the year before in 2016, runner-up in 2017. Over the last 2 seasons, has become a much-needed on-baller for our league side and has often played for both league and the struggling reserves teams in one day. And he's now, as of last year, starting to move into a leadership role in the league, I should say. Yeah, 2 for you, Dave.
Yeah. Okay. Play on.
Okay. How about this one? Now, this guy has kicked more than 60 goals for the club, including a career best 6 goals versus Gosnells in 1990, round 16. He played 201 games for Osborne Park in 1990 to 95, Balcatta 96 and 97, and Stirling from 98 to 2003, including 183 league and 18 reserves games. His league debut for Osborne Park was in 1990 in round 1 at age 20 years. He is only one of 5 players that played league for Osborne Park, Balcatta and Stirling. All right. He finished runner-up in the 1997 WA AFL B grade Fairest and Best medal while playing for Balcatta. He's a premiership player in Stirling's 1998 league team. He also played in grand finals for Osborne Park in the 1990 Reserves and 92 league and Balcatta in 97 league.
Craig Goodwin.
No. Dave, this is a freebie for you, this clue. He was the captain of Stirling league team in the 2001 and 2002 seasons. He has a brother who is currently a life member and is still playing and is gunning down a...
Paul Franceschini.
Correct. His father, Frank, played 228 games for Osborne Park. Yep. And, there you go. Paul Franceschini. So, Tills, he's kicking your ass.
He is. I know. 3-zip.
3-zip. Next one?
Yeah.
Okay. This guy is a current veteran of the reserve side, having currently played 114 games. His first season for Stirling Football Club was in 2007, playing in the thirds where he would play half of his current career matches. Okay. He has a origin as a former soccer player. The 2007 season was his first season playing AFL football anywhere. He missed a season in 2009 due to shattering his ankle in a motorbike accident. He returned to Stirling football late 2010. His mobility hindered, but still very handy in an on-the-ball role. This should probably give it out. He is a tall player that was well utilised in the ruck, but this did not quite equate as successfully as a forward due to his lack of marking power. This, however, has not hindered him from celebrating in emphatic fashion whenever he kicks a rare goal in his baby giraffe style of soccering off the ground.
Robbo.
Oh, it was one of two. It's not him. Dave, you got a freebie. In 2008, he tied with two other players to win the WAAFL F grade first and best medal. Troy Miletus. There you go.
I wanted to go in early with that, then I thought, oh, maybe it was
I know, okay. All right, 4-zip.
4-zip, yeah. You get on the board, Dave. Tills.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Let's try this one. Okay. This bloke, this champion, was awarded life membership to the club in 2005. He played 232 games for Osborne Park and Stirling from 1985 to 1989, and then resumed at 1994 to 2005, including 80 league games, 35 reserves, 103 thirds and 12 colts. He debuted for league for Osborne Park in 86, round 8 versus Kwinana, and he was aged only 19 and a half years old.
Dustin Kickett.
Correct.
No way.
Very well done. Yeah, club leading goal kicker for Osborne Park League 95, two-time first and best, including Stirling thirds 2000-2005, six-time premiership player, equal club record, including Osborne Park Reserves 85, League 86 and 87, and Stirling Reserves 98, and thirds in 02 and 03. He also captained Stirling thirds from 2000 to 2005, including the 2002 and 2003 premiership sides. 5-zip, Tills.
Mm-hmm.
You're tanking, mate.
I'm having a drink, yeah.
I'll try this one for you. See how we go with this one. Okay. This guy followed his father in playing for Stirling. His father played 105 games between 1988 and 1999 for both Balcatta and Stirling. He himself reached the 100 club match milestone earlier last year. But after achieving that 100 milestone, he played one more game, and he pretty much...
Alex Kostadinowski.
Yeah, yes, there you go. Yeah. Yes, pretty much disappeared after his 101th game. He's currently 101, 14 league, 69 reserves, 17 Colts games, debuted in league in 2015, round 2 versus Wembley. And yeah, there you go. I was trying to help you out there, Tills.
You did well, Damo. Yeah, I'm fucking retarded. Sorry, can you say that these days?
We'll do one more, please. No pants jobs, Tills.
All right.
Help us out here, okay? All right, let's try this. Oh, look, I've got a selection. I've got a whole heap of them here, but...
I bet you do.
Okay, we'll try this one. Okay. This guy played 100 games for Osborne Park from 1990 to 1995, all of them in the league side. He debuted in the league in 1990, round 1 for Kelmscott. He won the fairest and best for Osborne Park League in 1991. He kicked 50 goals for Osborne Park total. He was recruited from the Waffle, where he played 140 games for East Perth and Subiaco between 82 and 89. He captained Osborne Park League side from 92 to 94 for 53 games.
Carps.
Greg Carpenter, is that what you're trying to say?
Thanks, Dave.
Well done.
Yeah. I was letting you
Got to let him get one.
Yeah, Dave wasn't there.
Yeah. Coach of Osborne Park League side from 93 to 95, 51 games, and also a member of the Osborne Park 1990 Premiership team, Greg Carpenter.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
And that's how we play Know Your Saint.
I've got to study up.
Well, there you go. That wraps it up. Tills, anything else you want to add there before we throw to Dave for the last words?
No, I think just Thursday night training as normal at the club. Yep. I'll whack some food on, a couple of beers, but it won't be an abundance of food because the girls aren't training here anymore, so it's not going to entice me. We got brand new physios, guys, and they'll be starting in early March. So, yeah, feel free to come down. Pay your memberships as well, guys.
Yes, pay memberships.
But get them out of the way soon. Sooner the better. You can, look, if you want to bring down $50 a week, fantastic. I'll bring a receipt book down and a tally. And, if we get some money straight up, that'd be great because we've got to pay for the registrations before the start of the season anyway. So,
yes.
Jump on board, boys. Enjoy your training. Get down. Bring your mates. It's going to be hot this Thursday, but,
what are you going to do? So how else to train off the old Christmas pudding? Burn it out.
Well, you should see Grassy now. He wants to fit into the number 34 Guernsey. It's JJ's, and he's going in the right direction, I tell you.
He's well tanned, though, I'll say that. Grassy's tanned. It's like him and Matty Carlisle. I think they went to Bali as a cruise sort of thing, and the tan hasn't worn off.
It's an illusion, Damo. You get tanned, it makes you look fitter. It doesn't work for Grassy.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too, just to add, Tills, anyone else listening, we're going to start a couple of pre-season poker matches. I had a word with last year's poker champion, and he says that the bracelet's burning through his wrist. He wants to get rid of it. So I'll talk to the usual blokes, and we'll organise a poker match or two pre-season. Also, Thursday nights, Tills, Thursday nights games and shenanigans are going to be resuming. Got a few plans for that. We'll rejuvenate some of the ones from last year and throw in a couple of others.
Yep.
Also, Tills, I've got a highlights package, sporting highlights packages of classic games, grand finals, highlights packages of featured players from all sports. Some of the best boxing matches and MMAs you'll see. I'm going to put them on the big projector, Tills, on Thursdays. So.
Is JJ in one of the MMA ones?
No, but let's not discount it that you will see maybe JJ or people looking like JJ thrashing it out in the octagon, mate. Yeah. Anyway, so that's Thursdays. Tills, always a pleasure. Let's see, Dave, you still there?
Yes, I am.
Any word from you, mate, before we wrap things up?
No, just to back up what Dan said, I said, all I can ask for is, boys, you need to buy in. We need one in all in this year. If you get your mates down, we need as many blokes on the track as can, and we need some blokes to support the club week in, week out for the whole season. So that's it. Thanks, Damo.
No worries, Dave. There's only, my count, there's 17, no. I think it's only about 17 trainings left. So really, when you consider that, 17 trainings left before the first round, just under nine weeks. So yeah, don't leave it to the last moment to get down. Dave, it's been an absolute delight to have you down, mate, to be a part of our podcast, mate. The first one for our second year, our sophomore year. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on board. Thank you very much for your time, mate.
No worries, mate. Thank you.
And Tills, always a pleasure, buddy. We're going to try the format a little bit different next week. We are going to do a few blokes at the same time. Now that sounded so wrong. Do a few blokes at the same time. No, we're going to conference about. We're going to open the conference to about 4 blokes, Tills, including yourself. So we'll have a bit of a looser format with. We're going to do a bit of a quiz night, the quiz sort of thing, but it's going to be pretty dirty. It's going to be less intellectual than the one we had tonight with Dave. But which means, Tills, you'll have a better chance of winning.
Most definitely. Fucking hell.
Yeah. All right. So thank you, Dave. Thank you, Tills.
Thanks, Damo.
No worries, and thank you to our listeners once again. Guys, 2019 is here. Get on board. Come down to the training track, whether you're a player, you want to support us in any way, shape or form. Give us some feedback if you want anything you want to hear on the podcast. Always open to suggestions, social functions. And let's just get down and make a real go of this year in 2019. We're out of here.